16 years ago today, my dad passed away, guys, when I was about 16 years old. Thought I'd make a different type of video today just because of what really it brought up in the thoughts and just the reflective memory. And I'm not going to get too deeply into the story of how it all arose, really what led into it, but it took a long time to just think about positively what that did for me. And when I lean into prayer and God, and I'm like, God, what's your truth? What was the purpose behind this? Why did something like this happen at such an early age? You know, why couldn't my, father figure things out and come to realizations and, take care of himself a little bit better, through the alcoholism and everything else. And in that mindset, really a long time ago, when I kept thinking about that just harder and harder, after a long time, I realized just me getting in my own head and circling to like the why and like what, just kind of making sure keeping it captive, just holding that all to myself. It took a long time to find just more peace with it, to where I was able to take it to prayer and be like, this is for a purpose, God. I know it helps me understand today how I can step back from alcohol and be a healthier version. But not just like I want to be completely different than my father. It's also grace and understanding, like that humans get lost and consumed in certain ways, even when they have good hearts. So it was a piece of also going like, I'll forever know, to stay away from alcohol and stay really, really in line and making sure I'm making good choices, especially being present for my family someday if I'm doing that. But then also grace and understanding for my dad. And like, he was just a boy, just figuring it out, just going through life, trying to make one decision after the other, and got wrapped up in some decisions that just kind of became a part of his identity, right, that he couldn't break. It wasn't anything personal, but it's, instead of getting the mentality of just like, how could he, or why couldn't he just do this, that's where I realized I most had to go to prayer, find peace with it, and be like, God, just take this. I know that you're going to handle this. I know there was a purpose. So today, when I think of my dad, I'm able to think about how goofy he is, how warm-hearted he is, how he would show up and just make every situation just so much different, just that leading mentality, just cracking everyone up everywhere. It was just short-lived times that I got to experience with him, but he threw the baseball around with me or hit tennis balls or just made crazy jokes, and I'd just look at him and just crack up and just really gained a lot of confidence from that. I mean, just to look at someone so animated and funny and outspoken in certain ways. Like my mom was similar. My mom would dance and laugh and make goofy voices and just not afraid to be herself. And there's just something about seeing your mother and father laugh and just being pure joy and almost childlike joy, right? Like laughter and presence and just goofiness. You just relate with that a lot as a kid. So my dad was just always purely in this goofy state. It just cracked me up. It'd be like my stomach would be hurting from him laughing. So that's something that comes to mind, when I think of my dad. So on this moment, I talked about it to a couple people. Like for years, it's been 16 years. For the first 10 years or so, it would just kind of be like, I don't want to talk about it. It's whatever, we're moving forward. And then now, it's like when I think about it, it doesn't exhaust me or kind of like drain me. It's more just like, I understand he was just a human, just someone figuring it out, had their shortcomings just like I did. And that's a big thing that hits, I feel like, the older I get, is you just have more understanding and compassion. And I pray for that often. It's like what God is always telling us to forgive. He doesn't expect just forgiveness immediately, but when a little frustration does come up, or you think about something, you just take it to prayer and, hey God, I need help working through this. I'm trying to forgive this person. I'm trying to make more understanding of it. Thank you for putting them in my life, and help me just see them the way you see them. We could easily put this lens of judgment on things that don't have favorable outcomes, and that's what happens a lot when we lean into faith. Is we start aligning our desires with God's desires, His truth that's in Scripture. You start seeing humans with a lot more grace and understanding, and just realizing, look, they're just going through life just like I'm going through life. And I got closure in a lot of ways by seeing people my dad knew that said they saw things in me that were in my dad, and lots of little reminders over the years. So I could really see those blessings or not see them, and I really did choose to see them. Just took a while. So it was good to acknowledge today, something I felt like I wanted to acknowledge with you guys, something real, something that people could actually connect with. So hope this helped you out. Have a good night. Love you guys.